to go over the rhythm textbook for this course. It's called Studying Rhythm. And the first chapter is 2-4, simple duple meter. We talked a little bit about what duple meter is, which is 2 beats per measure. Simple means that each of the beats divides into 2 pulses. So a half note divides into 2 quarter notes, or a quarter note divides into 2 eighth notes, like that. So 1 beat divides into 2 sub-pulses. We call those divisions of the beat. And we talked about how to conduct, which is this pattern here, the 1-2, the down bounce and the up bounce. And we started to go into a little bit of the rhythm reading, and I want to go into that more today. So as I look at my example 1A, I've got my tempo is 144, so that's 144 quarter notes per minute. And what I would do is set a metronome to that beat. Let me show you. There I have it. This is what it sounds like. So the first thing that I do is I look at the example and I scan each measure to see what kinds of elements I have. Here is a half note in this measure, so that measure is completely taken up by a half note. This measure is 2 quarter notes. This measure is a quarter plus 2 eighths. This measure is a complete half rest. And what's interesting is when I have a full measure of rest in any meter, doesn't matter what the meter is, they always do a whole rest. So I made a mistake in the previous lesson where I said that the half rest is the element that we'd focus on in 2-4. Actually, it's not. It's a whole rest, so it's like an upside down top hat. So the line is on the top and the hat part is hanging down below here. My piano teacher used to tell me that a good way to remember this is by thinking of the hat being heavier when it's a whole rest. So that's why it hangs down. Half note here, 2 quarter notes, 2 eighth notes and a quarter note, and then another whole rest. Half note, quarter 2 eighths, quarter 2 eighths, whole rest. Half note, 2 eighths and a quarter, 2 eighths and a quarter, and then a quarter and a rest. So I'm going to show you now how to perform this exercise using conducting. So I've set my metronome to 144, and now I'm going to sight read it. I've scanned over everything, and I've looked at the elements that are in each measure, and I have an idea of how to perform it. It doesn't look too tricky. So I'm going to give it a shot at the tempo, sight reading for the first time. 1, 2, 2. Ta, 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 ti, ti. Ta, 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 ti, ti, ta. Ta, ta, ti, ti, ta, ti, ti. Ta, ti, ti, ta, ti, ti, ta, ta. Alright, great. So I did it perfectly on the first try. But that's because I've been teaching this class for many semesters, and so I kind of know how these examples work. If you're looking at it for the first time, your goal is to sight read it perfectly on the first try. Most of the time that doesn't happen. 95% of the time that doesn't happen. So just give it a shot, okay? And then what happens is you might mess up on a particular measure. Keep going, finish the exercise. You try to spot when you're sight reading certain difficult areas that you might need to practice, and you make a drill out of those. So now I got my metronome off, I'm not doing anything in tempo, I'm just looking around, and let's say in the first part, okay, I have difficulty doing the TTs of the eighth notes. So let me try just doing those first 3 measures on a loop. 1, 2, ta, 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 ti, ti. Ta, 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 ti, ti. Just repeating the first 3 measures. Ta, 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 ti, ti. Ta, 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 ti, ti. Great, okay. So now I've done that enough times that I feel confident that I can do it. Okay, I've practiced. So now I go back to my metronome, put that back on, and then I go ta 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 ti ti, ta 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 ti ti ta. Okay, just like that. All right, let's take a look at the next example. 1B. Okay, I can see that this wants me to do it at 120. But before we even get there, let's take a look at each measure and identify the elements that are in it. So I've got in the first measure, quarter and 2/8. And I got 2 quarter notes. Quarter 2/8 again, quarter note, quarter rest. Good, all right. Also, I noticed that I've got a dynamic here. So dynamics are volume. We're going to control our volume in this exercise. And P stands for piano, which means softly. So I'm going to do this one very softly. Okay. Then the next one has MP, which is mezzo piano, which is a little bit louder. So that's like more of a normal voice. And here we have, again, quarter 2/8, quarter 2/8, 2/8, 2/8, and then quarter note, quarter rest. Good. All right, let's keep going. Mezzo forte is the new volume. So now it's going to be a little louder. It's like I'm talking with a loud voice. All right, and this one is quarter 2/8, 2 quarters, 2/8, 2/8, quarter, quarter rest. So you can see that these are kind of combinations of each other. They're mixing up the elements. That's sort of my analysis of this one. And then forte is nice and loud. I'm really talking loud. I'm almost yelling at this point. All right. And I've got quarter 2/8, 2/8, 2/8, 2/8, 2/8, and then half note. And that one's done. All right, so that's my process before every exercise, before attempting every exercise. I'm going to analyze it and look at all the elements, and I'm going to see sort of in my mind how I'm going to do this. All right, now I'm going to start performing it at the tempo. All right, I'm going to get my metronome going at 120. There it is. So this is how I'm going to conduct. All right, now remember, this one has dynamics. So I'm going to start softly and get louder and louder each time. I'm going to try and get all the possible details that I can during the sight read. All right, so here we go. Ta ti ti ta 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 ti ti ta ta ti ti ta ti 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 ta ta ti ti ta ta ti 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 ta ta ti 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 ta. Okay, again, I might have messed up, for example. I mean, I did it perfectly on the first try, but again, this is like, I do this all the time. If you messed up somewhere, like let's say you couldn't get the dynamics, okay, that's what you noticed during the sight read. Now you go back and you say, all right, let me practice going from the first section to the second section and go from soft to regular. So from piano to mezzo piano. Now we go ta ti ti ta 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 ti ti ta ta ti ti ta ti 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 ta. Okay, and then I might go back ta ti ti ta 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 ti ti ta ta ti ti ta ti 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 ta. Okay. And I do it enough times that it becomes like muscle memory. I embody the exercise. I feel confident doing it, so then I can say, all right, and then I'll put it back into the exercise, and I'll do it again at a tempo with the metronome. All right, let's go on to the next example. Okay, here's the third example, 1C. I've got my tempo as 166, and I'm looking at, I think there's a reason why it's 166, which is that this one has all the elements. There are just quarter notes and quarter rests. And we got to switch from loud to soft, loud to soft. Let's see. 2 quarter notes, quarter, quarter rest, quarter, quarter rest, quarter rest, quarter. Ooh, that's going to be tricky because they're flipping on you. They establish a pattern and they flip it on you. So that's going to be tricky. We've got our whole rest, so the measure's a rest. 2 quarters, quarter, quarter rest, quarter rest, quarter, quarter rest, quarter. Ooh, okay. 2 quarters, 2 quarters, quarter rest, quarter, quarter rest, quarter. So we call these, the quarter notes are now on the upbeats. So on the downbeats we have a rest, and on the upbeats we have a quarter note. And then soft, 2 quarter notes, quarter rest, quarter note, quarter rest, quarter note, quarter rest, quarter note, half note. All right, let's give this one a try. Okay, I'm going to get my metronome at 166. Nice and quick. This is my sight read, my attempt at sight reading. Let's see. Ta 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 ta. I did it! Woohoo! Alright, I guarantee you a lot of people will mess up on this one. Again, that's okay. Where you trip up, finish the sight read all the way to the end and notice the spots where you tripped up. And then after you're done, go back and practice, drill the spots that you tripped up until you get really comfortable. And you can even take it down from tempo if this is too fast and work it back up to tempo. So let's say I want to do the first piano section. Ta 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 ta. See, I did it slower. Ta 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 ta. And then once I start to get the hang of it, and again I embody it, I feel confident in that I'm able to execute this, then I'll go faster. Ta 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 ta. Good. Ta 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 ta. And let's see, what was 166? Ta 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 ta. Okay, just like that. Where you have trouble, go back and drill until you get good at it. And again, you could do it 100 times until you get good at it. Just keep going, and then you're going to see a big improvement as you keep repeating it. More rhythm example before we go on to melodies. And this one is 1D. I'm looking at it, I see, interesting. This is what we call a pickup note. You see, because it's not a complete measure, it's only one beat. So this is actually beat 2 of half of a measure. And then by the end of the exercise, beat 1 is there in the last measure. Okay, so it's like they cut the first measure in half and they stuck the first part of it at the end and left the second part of it at the beginning. So what I'm going to do is conduct 1, and then on my upbeat at the conducting, then I'm going to say ta. I'm going to start the exercise. All right, so also what usually happens when you have a pickup beat like this is that all of the phrases will have pickups. So let's see, if we follow this line all the way to here, you can see, well actually even sooner, here, you can see that the dynamic changes on the second beat of this measure, and then you have a little idea, and then the dynamic changes again on the second beat. So everything's happening on beat 2 and is ending on beat 1. So that's what happens when you have pickup measures. All right, scanning this one over, I'm at 108 tempo, not too fast, that's pretty good. And I've got a quarter note pickup, then I got 2/8 and a quarter, 2/8 and a rest, quarter rest, 2/8, 2/8 quarter rest, 2/8, 2/8 quarter rest, quarter rest, 2/8, 2/8, 2/8, quarter note, quarter rest. Okay, let's keep going. Quarter rest, quarter note, 2/8 notes and a quarter note and an eighth quarter rest and 2/8 notes, quarter note and quarter rest and 2/8 notes, quarter note, quarter rest, 2/8 notes, 2/8 notes, quarter note, and 1 quarter note at the end. And also notice that there's a lot of dynamics in this one. So I start kind of loud, mezzo forte, then I go to kind of soft or regular voice, mezzo piano, then piano, soft, pianissimo, double P, that's very soft, that's like a whisper. Stay with pianissimo, then grow to piano, then grow to mezzo piano, then grow to mezzo forte, and then this here is a crescendo line. Crescendo means we get louder like this until forte. So from mezzo forte to forte, we're going to grow in volume until the end. All right, we've scanned our exercise. Now let's get ready to sight read. Okay, I'm going to get my metronome going at 108. And get the example up. Great. All right. Ta ti ti ta ti 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 ta, ti ti ta, ti 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 ta ta. All right. I did it again, but this was a tricky one, and it's going to take a lot of practice. Let's see. The thing that is really tricky about this one, I think, is the pickup notion. So you might want to practice doing this one at a slower tempo and then getting up to speed, because the pickup measure is a little bit, throws you off. So I might go like ta ti ti ta ti 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 ta, and then keep going. Ta ti ti ta ta ti ti ta ti ti ta ti 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 ta. Okay, go at a nice slow tempo so that you can really think about where the pickup measures are coming in. Then, at the moment that you feel comfortable that you're performing it the whole way through with those pickups, then start to speed it up and try to get it back up to tempo.